Hello and welcome to TechShop's Tool Time Podcast. I'm Eric, the editor of TechShop and an ASE certified master automobile technician. Joining me today for the first time is Tom Pecka, the publisher of TechShop. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, thanks, Eric. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be a part of it.
We're great to have you here on the show today. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as publisher.
I am the publisher for TechShop, and you and I have been working together for a while. It's been quite a ride. I think we're quickly becoming the resident experts on tools, equipment, supplies. Really, no thanks to you. But, I think I'm not really the showcase here, Eric. I think you're the guy we need to be talking to. I mean, you have an amazing background. I mean, you're a master technician, right?
All right. Yep. Certified, ASE certified master automobile technician.
How did you get that?
Yeah, that's just something that takes a lot of time and experience. Started many years ago when I started in the field.
Really?
And after school, I got involved in the field, and you just get experience. And there's a series of tests you have to take. 8 different tests for the standard automotive series of tests.
Sure.
And you take the test, you pass the test, but then you also have to have 2 years of experience in the field before you can actually be a certified technician. Wow. So just a lot of work, a lot of studying, a lot of experience, and over time I passed all 8 tests, and I've held this certification for probably over 30 years now.
Wow. And you never made any mistakes along the way, right?
Oh, I made some mistakes.
Yeah.
I just don't admit it.
No, that's great. So how did you become the resident tool expert?
Well, Tom, as part of my career, and the automotive industry has been just fantastic to me. I've had a great career. I was a technician, but also I spent a little bit of time as a tool dealer. So really got to know the tool business and had my own shop. One thing led to another, started doing some technical writing. Long story short, ended up here at Babcock's Media as editor for TechShop. And as you know, technicians, we love tools. And I had a background in the tool industry along the way, and it just was a perfect fit. One thing led to another. I was here and just get to deal with these tools day in and day out.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm certainly not at the level you are for skill level. I love to tinker, and I've been known to change a couple brake pads here and there, but that's about it. It's really exciting to be a part of this, and being new here with Babcock's, this has been a lot of fun, and I couldn't think of a better category to be a part of than TechShop. I mean, I just love the tools, and I'm really looking forward to learning from you and learning a lot more about how different tools work and all the different technologies. I mean, the automotive industry is really just changing rapidly. The technology is growing. I mean, how do you as a master technician stay on top of that technology?
Well, that's one of the difficult things we all face, Tom, as technicians. And, from when I started in the industry to now, there's so many different things going on. Yeah. Computers were around, but they didn't really exist. It was early days of onboard diagnostics. Yeah. And over time, you see all these advancements in technology, and your tools evolve along the way to be able to stay on top of that technology. And it's really a matter of continuous studying and learning and education. There's all kinds of things on the internet, webinars and videos and things that we do from TechShop that we put out, but things that I go out and study and educational seminars. We all have to watch that all the time, reading about things, reading about new technology. It's just something that's just continuously learning. You always have to stay on top of it, or else you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I got to ask, what's your go-to tool? What's the number one tool you use, you think the most, that you keep in your toolbox?
It's kind of an interesting question because it's kind of hard to single down one tool. But when you look at your core tools, there's 2 aspects to it. Like you're talking about screwdrivers, wrenches, ratchets, sockets, couple air tools. Like 5% of your tools as a technician is what you use 90% of the time. So, all day long, you're generally working out of just a small pool of tools. And today we can throw a scan tool into that mix. A scan tool is right there on top. You're using a scan tool on almost every vehicle that comes through the door. Then everything else, that other 90%, is sometimes specialty tools, or maybe a longer wrench you don't use all the time, things like that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's work out of a small selection of tools 90% of your day, and those are the tools. We all have things that work different for us, whether it's the style of the ratchet, the length, the handle, the grip, things like that. So we all have our own personal preferences along tools, but that's just that little selection we all love and use. So anything in there is what I love, and that's like kind of thing, if you're going somewhere, you take those tools with you, because that's generally what you're going to need.
It's funny you bring up scan tools. I had the pleasure of playing with a scan tool here at work, and I have no idea how to use it at all. I would love for you to show me sometime. I mean, what are some of the things that a scan tool can even do for a technician?
I mean, a scan tool is really everything today. And, I'd love to, we'll head out in the shop one of these days soon and get you a little time, behind the wheel of a scan tool, so to speak. But they're fantastic. They kind of originally, a lot of us have, and myself, you have a small handheld unit. We call it a code reader.
Okay.
And that was kind of initially when things were really early on in the computer controls and communicating with the vehicle. A code reader was like your number one tool. If there was a trouble code, you needed to know what that was. So that code reader, that was the interface to talk to the computer to tell you what that code is. So then that's still one of the first things you do and you look at with the scan tool. But now it's so far advanced, you're looking at data, exactly what the computer is seeing on the car, what's happening, live data. So as the vehicle is running or you're driving it, you can see what's going on. And you're using the scan tool to look at engine data, transmission data, braking system data, anything, the airbags, the ADAS, the advanced driver assistance systems, and it's needed to calibrate these systems, reset things, clear codes. I mean, so the scan tool just does everything today on a car. I mean, you just have to have it. That's what I said. It's on the top of your toolbox no matter what.
Incredible. That is so incredible.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
So, with that technology, just like I asked earlier about technology, I mean, what are some of the things that get you excited? Like, have you learned anything about like up and coming technology or things that are happening? Like, what gets you excited about the automotive industry that's happening in the future?
Well, the thing that's really so exciting about it is for one, the advancements, they just keep moving no matter what. There's always something new. I love talking to all these different tool companies and learning what their tools are. The artificial intelligence is playing a huge part in how these tools work and how technicians interact with the tools. There's so much of that that's really exciting that makes it easier for you to interact. And it's really important because we really need all the help we can get with our jobs. These cars are so advanced. We need that type of technology to make us efficient at our jobs. And so that's really exciting, seeing that technology, seeing how these new tools work. As I mentioned earlier, ADAS systems are some of the newest technology that we're working with all the time, we're seeing in cars. And just using this new equipment, seeing how it works, seeing how quickly it's advancing, and how user-friendly it's becoming. It's really fascinating to see this technology develop in cars and to see the equipment follow shortly thereafter to allow technicians to service these vehicles.
Wow, that's really crazy. So it almost seems like to be a technician nowadays, you got to be a really bright person. You're really dealing with a lot of electronics, it sounds like, computers, diagnostics. It's not as simple as just turning a wrench, is it?
No, not at all. You really have to be on top of your game. So, sometimes I'm amazed I can keep up with it. I'm not the brightest bulb.
I certainly wouldn't be able to. So,
No, you're right. You have to be really on top of these electronics and constantly learning them and using them. And and we have a lot of younger folks that are coming in as technicians, and they do a great job. They have a fantastic understanding. They grew up with these electronics and these technologies. Me, I just grew up with screwdrivers and wrenches and things like that. I mean? So this new technology and electronics, I'm continuously having to work with that and learn that type of thing.
That's crazy. You brought up a great point talking about the younger technicians growing up with this technology. I read recently that there is a big shortage, like a technician shortage in the industry. What do you think some causes of that are?
Tom, there's probably a lot of reasons for a technician shortage. today, and probably difficult to really nail them all down.
Right.
But I think part of the reason is that there are just so many more vehicles than there used to be on the road.
Point, yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of vehicles, a lot of need for service, and you know, there's a lot fewer young people that are being brought up around that mechanical repair. You know, they're learning computers and electronics, and it's such a different world. They're not learning as much about, you know, the standard maintenance repair. They're not changing oil like they used to do, or changing a tire, you know, or helping their parents do that in the garage. There's a lot less of that. So they're just not being exposed to the technology and not being exposed to what the automotive industry can offer. And I think that's one thing we can do to help solve this problem, is to let these younger people know, you know, what is involved in the automotive industry, what the opportunities are, how far you can go. You can be a technician, and it's a great career, and you can learn so much, and you can you know, work on your own car. And I mean, it's a very rewarding career. It's very satisfying. But not only that, but all the other opportunities, from the tool businesses to shops and management and writing, and there's so many opportunities, I think, that can hopefully attract some younger people to getting into this industry and becoming a technician.
You know, that's a great point. You know, it's funny to me that I feel like in the industry that technicians, these younger folks they're just not aware of this industry. And they're not aware, you know, they think maybe it's the old stigma of, oh, it's just, I don't want to be, you know, turning wrenches all the time and dealing with grease. But there's really so much more to it, and so many more electronics and technologies involved, that I think it's a matter of building awareness of the industry, you know. And how can we do that? I mean, do you have ideas? Like, what are ways that we could reach these younger folks and help educate them and teach them that, you know, this is a whole new industry. This is really evolving.
Yeah, those are great points, Tom. And you're right. You know, it's like there was that old stigma of that you're just covered in grease all the time, and you know, just wrenching away. And it's so completely different than that now, you know, because of the electronics and the computers. And I mean, yes, you have that mechanical repair, and you're certainly going to get your hands dirty from time to time, but it's a much cleaner industry overall. I mean, the technology of the vehicles is so good, and so many things that the maintenance is so much less for certain aspects of it. You know what I mean? It's a completely different field than it used to be. Yeah. But, you know, just like what we do here and with TechShop, you know, we like to share the experiences of this industry, and, you know, share these stories, and, you know, through videos, writing, podcasts, you know, webinars, of what it takes to be involved in this industry, and how much there is to offer. And I think just the more that we, as an industry as a whole, the more we can get that word out, you know, to these younger folks, or anybody even this, it doesn't really matter how old you are, you want to make a career change. Hey, here's an excellent field, an excellent career opportunity.
Right. You know, Eric, that's a really great point, talking about the evolution of technicians. And I'll remind you folks, take a look at our Tomorrow's Technician publication as well. That's where we focus on the student and instructor market of the automotive industry of tomorrow. It's a great resource, great opportunity to learn all about the new technologies, the places you could get assistance, learn where different schools are. Really, it's a great resource. Would you agree with that, Eric?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tomorrow's Technician, fantastic resource.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up, Tom. That's a great resource for people to check out. Absolutely.
Right. And more importantly, I would suggest you definitely subscribe to TechShop if you haven't already. This is going to be the beginning of, I think, a great relationship. And I think Eric's going to teach me a lot of things here going forward. But if you like tools, equipment, and supplies, I would definitely recommend you subscribe to TechShop magazine. What do you think, Eric?
You know, I'm going to agree with that, Tom.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fair
you know,
enough.
because if you love tools, you're going to love TechShop. You know, and I will teach you everything I can about tools, Tom. And you know, speaking of that, do you remember which end of a screwdriver to hold? I taught you that already, right?
Well, I always use the handle to bang it against like nails and stuff. It's easier than looking for my hammer, but
okay, well,
we might have to cover it again.
We're going to have some work in that area,
Yeah.
I see, Tom. You'll
Probably
have to cover that again.
Probably. More importantly, are you a patient guy?
I'm very patient.
All right,
Very
I hope
patient.
so.
Yeah,
I hope so. It's going to be interesting.
So speaking of tools, Tom, The summer is just getting ready to kind of kick in full swing, and we've got a lot of great things going on. But I'm thinking ahead to maybe some of these tool shows we got. What do we have coming up, Tom?
Yeah, you know what? That's great. We have the ISN Tool Show is coming up in July 2025. And for the first time ever, folks, we are going to have TechShop live at the Tool Dealer Expo. It's going to be a fantastic event. We're going to be interviewing a lot of different tool, equipment, and supply vendors. Eric, myself will be there. We're going to learn about new product releases. And more importantly, we're going to learn about ISN.
ISN, for those of us who don't know, ISN is the Integrated Supply Network. They are a huge independent automotive tool network. They serve wholesalers and distributors throughout North America and Europe. So they're dealing with dozens and dozens of tool manufacturers. I mean, this is going to be a great show, and we're going to have some great fun there and great conversations with these tool manufacturers. I'm excited about it. But in the meantime, what do you say we get you out in the garage and learn a little more about some of these tools?
All right. I mean, I'm game. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Eric.
Well, hey, this has been a great episode. Thanks again for joining us, Tom.
Yeah.
I know you'll be
for
here.
having me.
Yeah. And you'll be joining me in the future.
Yeah.
And want to thank everybody for watching this edition of the Tool Time Podcast. And we'll see you next time.